The joyous event of the holiday season.
For all who have wandered
The hit Broadway movie musical, Soul Doctor. The incredible true story of Shlomo Carlebach and Nina Simone. He escaped Hitler's Reich. She fled Jim Crow's South. Their music woke up the world. The friendship of a rock star rabbi and the high priestess of soul. A live musical movie celebration. A joyous leaping roar raves the New York Times. Combine Fiddler on the Roof with Jersey Boys and Hair, says Bloomberg News. This is the Carlebach experience. Be a part of it.
Welcome once more to The Radical Imagination. I'm your host, Jim Vredos. I'm a sociologist who's taught at John Jay College and Yeshiva University here in New York City. More and more people around the world are realizing that the violent, punitive, and revengeful policies used by their societies have failed to bring about a more peaceful, just, and safer world. There's an awakening to a new consciousness, especially among young people in their teens, 20s, and 30s, from a wide variety of religious, secular, ethnic, and cultural traditions. They're sick to death of the hatred, wars, greed, hypocrisy, ecological devastation, and poverty brought on by their leaders and the political and economic elites who dominate their worlds. For many, the answer lies in a radical love, where love is supreme and transcendent. It can't be lukewarm, cynical, moderate, refined, and parading around as comfortable and convenient intellectual sophistication. Radical love is about love of the truth, of beauty that is universal, beyond the individual, the family, clan, tribe, and the nation. It's a deep and broad love that needs to develop and be allowed to grow and mature. A love that embraces everybody. The alternative is the strong, distinct probability that humankind will destroy itself and the world around us through nuclear confrontation and ecological devastation. We are blessed to welcome to the Radical Imagination today two artistic souls who have worked together to create a magnificent film and homage to radical universal love. The film is entitled Soul Doctor and is centered on the life and music of the father of contemporary Jewish music, Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, and his unlikely, exquisitely powerful relationship with the legendary African-American jazz blues singer, Nina Simone. Daniel Wise is the playwright and director of Soul Doctor, which earlier had off-Broadway and Broadway runs playing to rave reviews. Danny has had productions in New York and around the world, including Japan, Britain, Singapore, South Africa, the first major Broadway production in Russia, 42nd Street, and the first Broadway musical in China, Rent. Abdur-Rahim Jackson is a Juilliard School graduate who performed as a principal dancer with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater for over a decade. In addition to choreographing Soul Doctor, he's created ballets for numerous dance and ballet companies around the country, choreographed sections of Beyonce's Super Bowl halftime production, and her Halo music video. I don't know if I've seen that one. And has directed numerous fashion dance shoots across the United States and Mexico, as well as the Stowed New York Fashion Week show. Soul Doctor is at once a love story and a reminder of our common traumas, a wake-up call that speaks to the power of love that can reawaken and heal us all. So I'm just blessed and thrilled to have you both here. This is unbelievable movie. I'm so glad to have you here to get the word out and explain more about what you've been involved in getting this magnificent production out there. So again, welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Jim.
I think we need to start by getting our audience to understand who was Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach. And I think many perhaps recognize Nina Simone's name, but what was that about? You wrote the book about this, right? What was going on in your head there that you wanted to put them together? And who is Rabbi Carlebach and your connection and so on?
When I was first hired to write this gig, I happened to have known Shlomo when I was a young boy until the age of 6, and he would do be-ins in my house and, all through the night. And then I did know him at the very end of his life too, and right before he died, we had a long
Tell
conversation.
our audience who may not have been the same age, similar age, what is a be-in?
Oh, what a be-in is basically an ayahuasca festival ceremony without the drugs. You sit around all night in a circle and with everyone who can play an instrument or who can't play an instrument, grabs one or a drum, and you sit cross-legged and serve little natural drinks and water. And Shlomo would speak wisdoms and teachings, and as a troubadour.
You were 6 years old.
Stories, yes, stories,
Wow.
and of course his he had wrote over 2,000 or 3,000 melodies. So he would tell his stories and many of his teaching in a sing-song recitative. So it was an all-night kind of journey, spiritual journey.
So you were very influenced by that experience as a little kid.
I was influenced by him. And I felt I was able to write his story, a Jewish story, and what now has become discovered as also a great American story. It's been discovered by the African American community and the audiences as a black story as well, a black American story. I originally really was writing about what the turning point of this revolutionary Renaissance Jewish renewalist who really changed the fabric of Jewish worship and Jewish music in the aftermath of the Holocaust, and how he created this Jewish gospel, and realizing that turning point came from his meeting with an unknown at the time, Nina Simone, and the two of them really encouraging each other. And these were two people who didn't want to become famous singers at all, or even singers. They really wanted to change the world and use music to change the world.
So your family, your father was politically active in civil rights?
My father and my mother.
And your mother
very,
too.
Very involved.
So that was there in the background. And so as you did more and more research, and again, what time period are we talking about here?
Well, Shlomo was born in 1924 in Berlin, and he escaped right after his bar mitzvah, right after Kristallnacht in 1939, and to the United States.
Mentioned
the film does go back to those early days in Nazi Germany, but it takes place. It sits in the house of love and prayer, which was Shlomo's the zenith of him coming into himself in his career.
Late 50s, 60s?
No, this is 60, the Summer of Love, 1968.
68. Okay.
1966 through 68 is when they first founded the House of Love and Prayer, which was Shlomo's commune and his group of hippies, which included Jews and non-Jews and Hare Krishnas and nuns and Catholic nuns and gays and
great identification with the black civil rights struggle.
Tremendous connection to the black civil rights struggle as well. Shlomo told me the day before he died, he said, "Brother, there isn't a black church in this city I haven't been to."
Interesting, great. Yeah. And so, Abdur, now how did you get involved in this production?
It was 2013 when I auditioned for the Broadway show Soul Doctor, and it's talking about just the energy when you're a New Yorker and you're trying to just find your way as a performer and different things. I saw the post in a Backstage magazine. Back then it was in a magazine. And what was it, the newspaper, Backstage newspaper. And then I just liked the title of it. I just went in and auditioned, and that's when I first met Danny, and we connected since then. I had to do a reading for one of the character, the sinner, in the church section, and it spoke to my journey in life, the irony of hearing Shlomo's story, like how it connects to everybody, that you're just trying to break out and do things that are more healing through the arts, through music, and that's how I did the Broadway show. And then later, I did the touring one that went to San Diego, and after that, Danny invited me to choreograph the show in Jerusalem, which was choreograph and perform in the show, which was a new adventure for me.
Wow. Well, we should get into that. So, but you didn't come, or did you come from a supercharged political family? What did you feel about the civil rights struggle of the 60s? Or were you more, again, as you say, a spiritual, progressive thinker on that? But
that's a great question, because I went to a performing arts after school program called the New Freedom Theater. The New Freedom Theater.
Theater, okay.
Yes, so in there you learn everything, about honoring yourself, but also the history, who came before. Like, we would basically, in the different classes, we would name our classes after civil rights leader, activists, anthropologists, anything so that you can understand what your purpose is and what you're here to serve. So I had an understanding of that. So I went there for like 3-4 years. So different, like, let's say it was Martin Luther King, and you had to do like basically a dance or writing or singing about different people that you named your class after. And how the naming of the class happened was that I may have picked Martin Luther King, let's just say, and somebody else picked somebody else. And you had to do a presentation, and people had to vote based on your presentation why the class would be named that. And that is like the DNA of how I moved through life, with that purpose of knowing my history. Working with Danny, learned a lot about different cultures, being in Jerusalem for 9 weeks and being taken around and just really experiencing different cultures. So I was already being prepared for that as a young person. And then many years later, living, in Jerusalem was the kind of the book into that experience.
So, but now, did you know much about the Holocaust or Jewish history, or because you were raised as a Muslim, correct? And then your mother became a Christian. Is that so? You have an interesting background.
My mother always researched out for different things to find the balance through different information of religion. Okay. So, but I was born Muslim, and then after that studied Buddhism with my mother, and then just different religion. And from what I took from that, especially learning about the Holocaust, back to that question, is that everything is rooted with love and search and compassion and empathy. So I grasped that from all the different religion. And you need a moment of balancing and centering, which is very important. How I learned about the Holocaust, through school, you had to do research and different things so that you're informed. And then working on the show, really learned and I love watching documentary. So I was aware of all of those different things in the relation to slavery or different things through history. So I was aware of that before that, but the show gave us a moment to really reenact it in an artistic way. So I was aware of the Holocaust before that.
And being part of New York. I mean, you originally were raised in Philadelphia?
Yes.
So you came to New York, late 1990s?
1996, yeah.
So then, so you're part of the New York culture.
Yeah.
So wow. So when you saw Abdur, he said, "Wow, this guy, he blew you away, right?" The audition.
Yeah. When people ask me, what does the film have that none of the other productions had, the Broadway production, I really feel that we've reached the pinnacle of what the interpretive dance of the show was intended. That was my vision, a directorial vision. And when I say I was able to write the show as a Jewish show, this element really, which is of movement and dance, is really an element that has survived the cultural erasure efforts of the slavery of the slave trade, and this has really permeated at least African American scholars and Christian scholars say that the Black African dance and voodoo practice of divination really is what permeated the Black churches of the South.
Right.
And that's what the gospel church experiences till today. It's really an African, the divination and the tongue talking and the
Pentecostal
and the Blues Brothers, James Brown.
Yeah, you
scene.
But Blues Brothers.
That's all. We kind of did a takeoff on that, a homage to that, I should say, so I don't get sued. But but that really was something that came from the deep original cultures of humankind through Africa. And that is what I had wanted somehow to be able to tell on stage, rather than being culturally appropriating, Danny Wise staging, what became influenced as the Jewish gospel. We really, through Nina Simone and through the Black church, Shlomo really was energized and created this paradigm of the Jewish renewal movement, and that the only way I could tell that on stage is through interpretive dance of someone who understands, first of all, his background. The last 5 productions that I directed, our choreographers were either Camille A. Brown or Benoit Swampouffet. These were all veterans of Alvin Ailey, and I really felt that Alvin Ailey was so tuned in, like a Martha Graham. The movement really created this spiritual world, esoteric, mystical world, and that one ballet, divination, I think it's called Divining. I think it's Judith Jamison's original work. For someone to be part of a company that could be part of repertoire like that, it was not written for New York City Ballet or even ABT. These were, I really felt like so I was writing a character for the show.
And we should see a clip, right?
We'll
in a
see
few
a
seconds.
show.
We
So I
should
was
do that
writing
with
this
the
character. This is
choreography.
going to interview that clip right now. That I was writing a character who would be like the muse of dance, represent the kind of all throughout the show, take on different characters. Who was that dance that represented that feeling of Africa that really influenced Shlomo to create this neo-Hasidic gospel movement. And the fact that Abdur is also was able to interpret that, knowing this story for 10 years, having performed it on Broadway, seeing how the audience responds to it. So to be able to really tell that story personally, based on his training and cultural artistic background, and also to be able to perform it, like when you see the MGMs, when Fred Astaire or Gene Kelly are actually dancing on stage, the choreographer, or Charlie Chaplin. I mean, that's what the movie offers. I mean, you have Abdur, and you can see the clip here. When
So
Shlomo
where
walks
does
into
the
church.
Jewish dance, that you're mixing in that too, right? How do you bring that in? What is that, from the Hasidic tradition?
No,
Help
the
me
dance
understand
is
that.
all,
the
dance is very abstract, and I'd like him to talk about it, but
Okay.
I really, we really,
interesting.
Hasidic dance very much is based on that divination and the hand use, and I thought that, he was really able to tell those stories, including a wonderful scene that we don't have here for you today of the Talmudic study with all that handwork. You really felt like you were in a yeshiva. We had actually gone.
He took me to the yeshiva in Jerusalem. What was that, 2 in the morning?
Yeah.
2 in the morning.
And you were a yeshiva student.
Yes.
I taught at Yeshiva University, and I know what you're talking about, the studying in the Midrash, right? And goes on, and it's very... But let's
He's dancing right there, I think.
Yeah, I'm getting. I'm remembering how the students, and it was sort of a dance and animated, and well, you saw it too. So let's see if we can see that clip now. This is again. Set it up again. This is the choreography.
Nina Simone and Shlomo had met, and Nina said heard a song of his. Why don't you sing in the synagogue? He said, they won't let me play. He was very disillusioned. They won't let me sing in the synagogue. Nothing new allowed. And she said, then come and sing in our church. You know, you'll learn how to bring people back to life.
Wow.
And he actually then does show up at the church. And that was really the turning point for the Jewish revival movement after the Holocaust. Today, in every reform, every denomination, Reform, Conservative, Reconstructionist, gay, lesbian, ultra-Orthodox, Hasidic, they're all celebrating Shabbat services with this Shlomo gospel that really got that first time when he had entered a church, which is actually, in truth, historically, he told me it was Father Divine's Church of Philadelphia.
I see. And also the Carlebach Shul on 79th Street on the west side, the rabbi, well, this was several years ago, was known as the dancing rabbi. But,
Right.
I don't know if he's
Sammy
still...
Intrater.
He's not...
He's down in Miami now.
He's down in Miami, still dancing. All right. Let's see the clip.
Going down south to Selma, where I need to be, to sing for my brother still fighting to be free. You may feel I went running and all's gone astray, but though I may go, I will never go away. I'll always be with you, right here beside you. Miles may divide us, but deep down inside us, we'll still be together, always together, never a moment apart. Two souls bound and yet free, one love deep as the sea. Two together in stone, never ever will you be alone.
If I head off to Frisco, west to the sea, singing wherever our lonely heart may be, I will go on the wings of the music we shared. If I never had met you, I never would have dared. I'll always be with you, right here beside you. Miles may divide us, but deep down inside us, we'll still be together, always together, never a moment apart. Two hearts beating as one
love never undone.
Two together in stone, never ever will you be
Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
So that was that. Now that wasn't the dancing. We're going to get to the dance scene, but that was what now? This is the...
This was after Act Two. This is Shlomo and Nina, both as they're out to venture. Her being condemned and banned in the South, and he being condemned by the Orthodox rabbis for singing at the village gate and with the jazz singer. And they go their separate ways, but they go each other's ways on their own real mission in life. He's going out to California to talk to the searching generation of hippies, and she's going out to sing protest songs in the South. So they've really changed each other's lives. Certainly Shlomo being so influenced by Nina, and that's where the movie is really a tribute to Nina Simone's great influence as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So set up the. Now we're going to play the clip with the choreography that you really created here, and this was the key, as Danny's been saying here, to the whole movie in a sense, bringing this together in an animated way and making the connections. So set that up for us, and then we'll see that clip.
So the clip is actually part of the audition that I had to do with the lines. It starts with that part of just the person searching for that voice, that inner power within them as the sinner. And then once he finds that voice, it turns into an explosion of the discovery through movement that I was inspired to choreograph and creating this scene to Kiva Moed, the time has come, which it was just so beautiful that Shlomo came into the church, as Danny said before, and by Nina Simone invitation to just like see if his music is universal. And it resonated in this scene of me performing in the cast.
You'll
in the
be
movie.
on, and you've choreographed it, and you're playing it. Okay, let's play that clip. This is great.
Our brother Columbus has given up his sinful ways and come to us today to join in the kingdom of heaven. Glory. Amen. Are you ready to be saved, brother?
Yes, I'm ready to be saved.
Are you ready for the man in the chariot of fire?
I'm ready.
Yes, Jesus. Do you? I said, do you feel the light? Come on, Lord. Come on, Jesus.
No. I still don't feel a goddamn thing. Well, as the Lord is my witness, I tried. Goodbye, heaven. Hello, hell.
Shlomo! Mama, this is my soul brother, the rabbi from across the street.
Oh.
Now, Mama, wasn't Jesus a rabbi?
He was a very different kind of rabbi.
Well, believe me, Shlomo is a different kind. Listen to this spiritual he wrote. The time has come, brothers and sisters. Let us give up our voices and our differences. Kiva Moed, Kiva Moed, Kiva Moed, Kiva Moed, Kiva Moed, Kiva Moed. Our joy will spread. Kiva Moed.
That's my baby. She's singing.
Hey!
Wow. Brilliant. You can't sit down on that one.
Yeah.
Wow. Whew. I just take that in for a couple of seconds. You got your Soul Doctor t-shirt on.
Well, first, the yellow and blue is really a shout out to all your viewers who are watching from the Ukraine, and also to plug the new movie coming out, the movie Soul Doctor, which is definitely going to ignite a worldwide revolution of radical love.
That's what we're trying to do. We
should mention Naya and Josh Young, who were the wonderful artists who starred in the last two clips in our show. Josh Young being one of the great, Tony Award-winning Broadway veterans, one of the great voices of Broadway today, and Naya having just been discovered at that time, but since then she's sung at Madison Square Garden and starred in Broadway, Caroline or Change, and she was Cleopatra in the musical off Broadway.
What was Josh in? Josh was
known also for playing a Jew in Jesus Christ Superstar. He played Judas.
Okay.
So
yeah. What chemistry?
Now he's playing Jesus kind of in Soul Doctor.
There we go. Now look, we're planning this event. Well, it's February 6th, right? At the AMC Theater by Lincoln Center.
Lincoln Center, February 6th, and
Monday evening,
and we're going to have the stars of the show, some music, and then afterwards, can I mention the guest?
We're working on that, and
yes,
hopefully this will happen. We're expecting it to. Go ahead.
Expecting it to. Well, Dr. Cornel West has verbally agreed, so far we'll confirm with him, hopefully.
We will.
To really give a wonderful sharing. You can't call his talks lectures or musical performances.
That's a great term, sharing.
Yeah, it's somewhere between, it's somewhere between a great performing arts piece and a great sermon. And then we'll have some music from the show as well. And a chance also for a little Q&A. And the subject is really the question of whether Shlomo Carlebach and Nina Simone could be an example and a model for today's...
A catalyst.
Yes, and a model for today's healing in Black Jewish and on a national level too.
And around the world.
Nature, around the world.
Because Shlomo and Nina were all around the world, right?
Yeah.
They toured, and not together, but they sang.
Right.
And that was their idea. So we've got to resurrect that.
And they're more influential today than they were during their lifetime. Nina Simone is more relevant today. Really more relevant today.
Yeah, interesting. And now, also in Jerusalem, you're going to be doing this April 27th?
Yes, we're going to be showing it in 1,000 theaters across America the week of April 20th through 26th, which is Israel's 75th Jubilee. And it's such a divisive, polarizing time with regards to Israel in general and Israel in the American community. And I think it's really great for us to have a discussion about a real American Jewish issue, which is our history and our role in the Black Jewish conversation. And I think that's a really great way for communities and faith-based communities who are supporters of Israel, but really need a topic of discussion that's very close to home.
Mm-hmm. You've got to give us the anecdote about Shlomo at the Jaffa Gate after the 67 war.
Oh, yes. Well, after the 67 war, the Six-Day War, the liberation of Jerusalem for the first time, and we had the Western Wall visited by our soldiers and our Jews who were yearning for this for so many years. There was this euphoria, but at the same time, the anger towards, obviously, the wrath of war was still spilling over. And Shlomo, for weeks and weeks, was filmed, and it was in the media and the papers and on television. They would watch the singing rabbi was standing at the Jaffa Gate of Jerusalem, and every Arab man, woman, old woman, anyone with a keffiyeh or a hijab on, he would hug them for the longest time and give them blessings in Hebrew, and he learned a little Arabic as well. And finally, Yitzhak Rabin at the time was a defense minister, I believe, and they happened to have met. He came down there on his way to Jerusalem, and he stopped and he said, Shlomo, how about if we give you a commune somewhere? You're creating some kind of Bolshevik counter movement here, the subversive movement. It's right after a war. And Shlomo said, I've got an idea for you. You spend so many billions on planes and tanks and cannons and guns. Just fly over 1,000 of my Hippolach from Haight-Ashbury, and we'll hug every Arab in Israel. And then there won't be any need for an army or a military or an air force. And so instead, Rabin gave him like a commune far in the middle of nowhere to go away and stop.
Isn't that story similar in a sense to particularly the southern phase of the civil rights movement in the South, and King with his radical love?
Yeah, I think that's affected me still to this day. And a lot of things, projects, shows, choreography, it always roots from just the embraciveness of love to people. And despite what we look like, what we were born into, our names, it's the same thing Martin Luther King and other activists just try to instill in. As time is passing, I'm realizing those people like Nina Simone and Shlomo, they're messengers, and they were ahead of their times, and that's why their message is still like powerful today. Yeah. And it's still in play, and how we're affected to use, and what your show is about, radical love, how we still have to infuse that and remind people of that. Life is what it is, but with empathy and compassion and love, we have to keep moving that forward through the arts, through your show, through writing, through music. All those things remind people that that's our purpose of being here.
And somehow through politics and economic policies. But I agree with you, culturally, artistically, the musicians, the dancers, the filmmakers are key. And Cornell has said that many, many times, to that transformation, spiritually, intellectually, and that's got to get through economically and politically too. We've got to get policies that aren't hurting and causing, in this city alone, 250,000 deaths through structural violence. That's what poor people are experiencing, and they're dying in tens of millions around the world. So it's it's a big job that we're undertaking here, but this, I've got to tell you, when Beatty and I went to the movie, and of course, my wife Beatty knew Shlomo, and I didn't have that privilege, but I wasn't expecting all that much. I thought, well, all right, Hollywood, so maybe a little slight. I was so moved, and and I'm so thankful that we've been able to connect, and now with you, Abdur, as well. This is how it has to happen. And now it's going to be across the country for Black History Month.
We're going to be in select theaters in main cities for Black History Month, such as in New York, we have that night with Cornell West. Yeah. We're going to be in Atlanta and Los Angeles and several other cities. Also? Yeah, the King family, hopefully in Atlanta. And then we're going to have the wide release internationally as well, in Israel at the same time. This film was originally shot. It's a live capture of a live performance that was produced by the Israel Festival in honor of Israel's 70th in Jerusalem. So this is an actual live production, festival production, that was filmed in Jerusalem. And they'll be watching it again nationwide, in the theaters for Israel's 75th.
Now, how is this going to play in Israel today? I mean, if anything, you've got the most far-right, militaristic.
You know what I think, Jim? When you were talking about policies, it just struck me for the first time
Yeah.
That, you know, the artists who changed the world through music, like Nina Simone and Shlomo Carlebach and Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger
Bob
and
Dylan.
Bob
Goes on
Dylan
and on.
and the revolutionaries they had political messages, to be sure. They talked about the problems, they exposed the problems, they talked about the differences, they made fun of the oppressors, but they did not talk policy. And whenever artists do talk policy, they get into a lot of trouble. They really lose sight of who they are as artists. Music, and Shlomo would say this, two people talking at the same time, if their words don't match, it's just confusing and they disagree. But music has the ability that people of completely different orientation and perspective, singing different notes, counterpointedly create a beautiful dynamic. And I think that's the role. Today they politicize art. Let's boycott these artists from this country and boycott those.
Absolutely,
Another artist
right.
gets out and he starts talking against this group and that group and about these
I
policies.
understand.
The role of the artist is so much more powerful than that. It is to awaken, really to wake up the world and wake up the humanity in all of us and wake up our ears and our eyes to each other's, the human plight and the human and the oneness of all of us. That really, Shlomo said, my message is everyone's message. We're all children of one father and mother. We have to love each other. And I think that's why this story at this very polarizing time in America between blacks and Jews, and there may be a message for both sides. There may be a lot for both of us to learn. And certainly between the Americans and Israelis within them, with their own community. So I think that I really want to focus on that for this release. This is a story about the power of music.
I agree with everything you're saying. However,
You're never going to agree with me, Jim, because you're a
no,
political
but I agree with you.
activist.
Well, here
you're a political activist.
But you got to wait. Next sentence, I was going to push back a little bit, but you work with Reverend William Barber, Poor People's, and we know we've had him on, and Yal, his musicologist. But he also has a program of policies that he is, so it's not one or the other. You can have the music, the culture, the art, the marching, the demonstrations, and the politics, and work electorally and in the streets.
But the policies will never resolve anything because unless the music is, unless the
you gotta
artists
have both, I think.
yes,
both,
because otherwse it's just going to be about one arm. Strong arming the other arm and compelling the other.
I don't think
that's
so.
how you have extremism, because people don't really feel, the radical center. Music and art. Successful musicians and artists have created a radical center, and that's radical
I
love.
defer to I think you could have policies that will appeal to a wide spectrum of people that can heal. I mean, it's not physics.
But people won't back them and accept them and make it part of
it's not a mystery.
Yeah.
We know that homicide and suicide rates go down significantly when we have a humane welfare. Want to call it that? It's not a bad term. Welfare. You want people, the government, if anything, of the state, the civilization, to care for people. So if you have policies that reflect that, you will have a less violent, more harmonious, peaceful, loving country. You can see that, whether it's in the Nordic countries and so on.
Yeah, you need the music and you need the Torah.
You
need the Torah.
Yeah, I think the policies is very important. Policies is maybe the structure and the tools, and then
institutional
art, yes, institutional structures and tools, and the art is a way that people can sit back and see it. And really see it in action and reflect when they see what's happening, and it really touches them. And I think both things are very paramount and important to move things forward. Without one or the other, it's just like it becomes stagnant.
You were stirring people up in that dance number and more than any academic, except for maybe something like Cornell.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that. But
people relate when even I haven't seen that clip since last year. The movie's at the AMC, and it even moves me because it takes me back to that place, and then I'm thinking when I choreographed it, what am I feeling? How does that reflect? So that's the purpose of art. And
in a democratic society, it's our laws and our policies are not like the Christians may call the Torah the testament, but it's not a testament, it's not an edict, it's a covenant. And the more the artist, for a policy and a law to really enter and really become part of the fabric of a society, in a democratic society, it needs more than to be the rules. Just look at how segregation was abolished in 1967 and in the South, and New York still exhibits many very, very real existential segregational. It's a segregated city on so many levels, very integrated on other levels. But there is society has to understand the Torah, meaning what the teaching is, what the wisdom is, and the only way for them to relate it is through when they feel it. When they feel it and get to know it. And that's through dance. I mean, when you see the human body express it, you know, vicariously, you start to somehow get that feeling.
But isn't there different ways of also relating to the Torah, the Christian scripture, more in a pieistic way?
Yeah.
And that's what Shlomo was rebelling against, right?
Yeah, but that's also what he saw, what
he
got
pushback
from the black churches. But he saw that also in the black churches, this movement. When he would describe the black churches, he described what we saw Abdur create through dance.
Well, the black churches, through the gospel music, helped create the blues and jazz and so on. So there's, it's all. And
Elvis, by the way, was very influenced by that.
By Shlomo?
No. By gospel church and voodoo.
Yeah. So there we have it. So your hope is that this can be a catalyst for people to join and begin a larger struggle and will become a source of consciousness raising and bringing people, because we need that so very, very much. And I know you tell us a little about the organizing of this. You have invited a great number of black churches, synagogues, right?
Well, a few years ago, we won the Kwanzaa Film Festival, Best Film, and we were then in Harlem, and we were then invited to Selma, Alabama twice. We were featured on the SCLC magazine. And so this is really a kind of a project where we have about a dozen of the leading Jewish national organizations, Taglit Birthright Israel, Hadassah Women's Organization, B'nai B'rith.
They're on board with this.
Yes, the Simon Wiesenthal Museum of Tolerance, etc. Right. Stand with us.
Susanna Heschel.
And then we have we have a black fraternity organization that's 300,000 members. The SCLC and the King Center and NAACP. The idea is really to have this as a great platform for people to come together with the goal that by our own self-understanding, by understanding other cultures and how we've influenced other cultures, and by being open to learning from others, then we can also help enhance our own self-understanding. And I think for the black audiences and the young people, when they saw how the Jewish community was so reshaped and revived, and what it is today has been so celebrated by the influence of the black church and the black culture, I think that's empowering for black people to look and rediscover their own heritage,
and it's,
too.
The
power of their own heritage.
I don't have to tell you how this is so timely. I mean, we're
definitely
in the midst of all kinds of crazy comments here from, what's his name, Kanye, and even, I don't think, I like Dave Chappelle so much, but I don't think he's very helpful on his comments on this. And we need to have these voices help us really, talk to each other. And so there's got to be also ways in which this can bring us together in dialogue, in actual concrete dialogue. So are there plans for that too as well? I mean, getting together, like you were saying, the be-ins, that you as a little 6-year-old kid went.
I think
you're planning on any more be-ins?
Yeah, I'm hoping that this will really have a spillover. We're creating a study guide
You are?
Yeah, and
For high schools, for
university,
college?
high schools, yes.
Wow,
and we're
great.
availing the theaters to have. We have a little team that's reaching out in individual communities, so that there could be, at least on the opening night or for several nights a week, there could be a Q&A or some kind of talk back or a music or celebration where we could engage the two communities in a discussion. And I think that that's, I think that when I know for me as a Jew, the more I learned how much impact we've had on world culture and the world enlightenment, that it made me more interested in really what my tradition, Torah tradition, was all about. And I think that for Nina Simone, the Black Power movement, that she was very much the voice of the Black Power movement, was about the young black people discovering the power of their culture, which she could said that, African culture.
And that's
the
how
greatest
you've
culture of the
also
world,
really also told us too about how it means so much to your culture. We got to sort of wrap this up soon
the
here.
The impact that when you do shows and different projects, how it affects your life, like how I said, training at the New Freedom Theater, doing Soul Doctor on Broadway, that impact and responsibility, that it's not just a show, it's about how you live, and you share that with people. And just like Danny said, like the different forums, the question and answer will be impactful to younger audience and adults to really look in, so that you can give out more like harmony and joy and compassion.
Thank you for your sharing, both of you
welcome.
today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Jim, for being here.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We are out of time.
That's good.
Thank you again so very, very much.
All right, thank you.
And thank you all for listening to us on The Radical Imagination. This is Jim Vredos. We'll see you again next week on The Radical Imagination.